Now, that takes us to the question at hand, which is I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. What could the speaker mean by spiritual? And in this section, we're just going to go through the keywords again and remind ourselves what we could do with them in the context of our essay, assuming that we're going to be very fleet of foot in the way that we write. So, I'm not religious. So, first keyword I picked out here is religious. Now, there's so many ways that you can go around answering this essay, but depending on how you define religion, will depend on which of those ways you take. So, are you a Hindu? Are you a Christian? Are you a Jew? All of these things will lead you to have a different answer. So, acknowledging that at least will be a useful thing to do in the context of your essay. Not religious. So if you're not religious, does that necessarily mean that you're going to become spiritual? Is it necessary that if you're spiritual, you are not religious? That's probably the more opposite argument or question to ask. So can you be religious and spiritual at the same time? Does being spiritual necessarily mean rejecting religion? Spiritual. Well, again, what do we mean by that? Because accepting that people can be religious and spiritual at the same time, well, look at the Sufi, for example. How are we defining spirituality? Well, is that meditating in a field such as this man? Or is it going to the Roman Catholic Mass and really thinking about how Catholics believe that the bread and wine that they use in the context of the Mass literally becomes the body and blood of the God of the universe? That could be an extremely spiritual experience if you take it very much to heart. So, what are we meaning by spiritual? And does it necessarily mean that if you are spiritual, there's a contradiction between religion? Certainly, you could, in the context of your essay, come up with interesting examples of how you are both religious and spiritual at the same time. So, if you type in whirling dervish into Google, you'll find pictures like this guy. And he is a Sufi. In Arabic, the tradition is called tasawwuf. And it's essentially a group of spiritualists, mystics within the Sunni Islamic tradition, who you would certainly argue are spiritual people, depending again how you define spiritual. Speaker, I mean, how much can we know given that we don't know the speaker? If we look at this brown-haired chap right here, does he mean by the words religion and spiritual the same thing as this blonde girl down there? And just consider the difficulty of the fact that we're talking about a speaker that we have no idea who they are, we don't know where they grew up. Certainly, if you just want to take the statement at the face value level that we might do in Western Europe, for example, where there is a phenomenon of people saying, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. I mean, just type the phrase into Google and you'll see hundreds of books have written about it on the same theme. However, how much can we actually talk about a uniform understanding of this phrase? And then finally, mean. There's an entire wealth of theological, sorry, not theological, philosophical study on the philosophy of meaning. And the seminal scholar on this realm, on this subject, is this chap here called Ludwig Wittgenstein, who I thoroughly recommend you have a look at, both in his early form, writing the Tractatus, and then in his later form, writing investigations. And essentially, and this could be quite an interesting essay response, just considering the word mean in the context of I am not religious, but I am spiritual. I mean, does the speaker mean anything at all?